if we look at Derrick Henry, if you look at Saquon Barkley, if you look at Tony Pollard, if you look at Josh Jacobs, those people are way above the general standard of the running back narrative.
I really do love what you said last year in a CBS article about how crazy it is that a backup receiver could get paid more than, a starter for a running back. And you even at times have had more receptions than a lot of these guys. So fast forward to this year, and the issue around running backs compensation has moved even more to the forefront. When you hear about something kind of like the Jonathan Taylor situation in Indy and what's been going on over there, are you at all surprised about how it's gone down?
Yeah, absolutely. For our sport, if you just look at in any sport, actually, if you look at who the top contributors are to the team, generally people that are the team wants to keep around, and wants to have them around for the foreseeable future until maybe they have a fall off or something like that. And in our situation, it's been interesting because we have guys that are peaking and they're getting put into situations where they're already, I guess the organization's already betting on them not being able to sustain the amount of production that they're having. And you see that with the franchise tag. You see that with Jonathan Taylor's situation. I don't know the details on that, so I can't speak too much on it. That's another thing is we have a lot of narratives out here about why the running back should or shouldn't get paid. And a lot of these narratives are coming from just sources that maybe have a lot of context or not. For me, how I see it is, it comes down to the principle of business. So it's like, okay, you have a high contributor. I think you should definitely have the opportunity to go out there and find yourself a new contract and get paid at the value that you're contributing to that team. We have situations where in our CBA, we have a franchise tag. So it's something that we can't necessarily get around. But you don't see it happening to all the other positions. And so it's like, why is it happening to us? And so that's why we get together and have these conversations to talk about different ways that we can go and maybe combat that.
Yeah. I'm from Indiana, so I can't really speak on Jim Irsay and what all went down, but the comments he had to say, or I guess going as hard as he did with some of the comments when it came to that situation, that was kind of crazy to me. As a running back, not to ask if you were surprised by that, but were you kind of like, oh wow, he's really flexing his ownership muscles?
Yeah,
right there.
There's a lot of wild cards, in any community. And Jim has put himself out there before, and this is another one of those times. And so, we all have a platform. You decide how you want to use it or not. Sometimes it can be beneficial, it's controversial, detrimental. All of the different things. And so you have to be careful. And yeah, if you're putting out things in media, it's going to receive backlash regardless of what you say. And if you put out things in a stance of power and it's against, people that are frustrated right now, you're going to make us feel some type of way. And so I'll keep it at that. But he is one of the owners. So, he does have that stance of, we're protected by the CBA, which is true. But the reason the CBA is what it is today is because players have scratched and clawed for all these rights for our protection.
Absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned it earlier too about the call you and a few other running backs. You and Derrick Henry put a Zoom call together for all of the league's backs to get together and to discuss the situation. Not even asking for you to share the specifics that you guys talked about, but what was that breaking point for you guys that prompted this meeting? And maybe what were some of the biggest takeaways where you left like, okay, this is the plan, this is what we're wanting to do, or this is how we all feel?
Yeah. As the NFLPA, that's, for all these that don't know, that's our players association. That's all of our players combined. It's how we protect ourselves. It's, who sets the salary cap every year. It comes from us. And so for us, when we had this deadline of the franchise tag being set, now you can't negotiate past that point. That's what really triggered us as running backs, union members to come together. Like, hey, let's put things on the table. Let's talk about the situation. Let's talk about what is happening, what we could possibly do. Let's talk about these narratives that are out there, and are these true or are they not? And so we came together to have that type of discussion. This wasn't a discussion to come up with all the answers right away. This is not something that just is going to be solved right away, because there is a lot of moving parts in this. There's a lot of different narratives. There's a lot of people justifying why it should be this way, why it shouldn't be this way. And so for us, we wanted to come up and get a plan together. And it's going to take more than just one call. We'll be getting together more in the future. But for us, right now, I think the best thing that we can do is continue to contribute, continue to go out there and make impacts on our team. Because, if you continue to do that, we don't have to change anything. We are making a big impact on these teams. And now it's just about continuing. Now we have to fight this narrative, unfortunately, to show hey, not all the top running backs are in this general, sense of all the running backs, because that's what's happening right now. We have our outliers that are at the top of the game getting compared to all the general running back stats, which is running back position isn't as efficient. Well, yeah, if you look at it as a position, but if we look at Derrick Henry, if you look at Saquon Barkley, if you look at Tony Pollard, if you look at Josh Jacobs, those people are way above the general standard of the running back narrative. And so they cannot be treated as the general running backs, which they are being, in my opinion, right now. And so things like that we are okay, how do we combat this? And that's why we had those calls.
Melvin Gordon was really one of the first running backs to hold out for a better contract back in 2019. And he recently told the Baltimore Banner, he said, if you're thinking about playing running back, think twice. And he also went on to suggest that if you're a gifted footballer who's currently a running back, you should switch positions. As a running back yourself who has had more, productivity than a lot of some of the receivers, do you agree with this?
100% no. If times get tough, if times are pushing it back against you, you're just going to give up. That to me, these guys just didn't think that through. You don't just give up, because someone's like, oh, you know what, you guys aren't that good anymore. So we're just going to not. No. To me, you fought way too hard to get to this point and done way too much training, way too much attention to detail, going through the meetings, going through the abuse of football to just, oh, now I don't want to do this anymore. And think about this. When we're playing running back, and we're playing football in general, you're doing it for no money at the beginning. You got to pay to play. You're playing in rec league. You're playing in high school, middle school. You're not thinking about, if I make it to the NFL, I don't want to play this position because right now in the current situation, they're maybe not getting paid, which is a small, really situation in the grand scheme that there's no way that can be something that motivates you to go do something else because there's a little bit of, controversy going on right now. And so for me, no, I 100% disagree. And I think it's just something that, we as leaders need to make sure that we're keeping our guys together so they understand, just because there's a little bit of pushback, a little bit of fight, doesn't mean we go and hide under a rock and, start making these, allegations that, no, don't play this position. To me, that's BS. No, you stand up for ourselves. We stand up for our position and show and tell and go out there and do all these things to make sure people understand why we are important and, to hopefully encourage more people to want to play running back. It would be my rebuttal to those guys. And I think, we get caught up in media sometime and, emotions come out. And I think those are just, one of those times where people just speaking from emotions and not really thinking it through clearly. So that's what I would have to say about that.
Hey sports fans, if you want to see more conversations with athletes and stars, check out these videos right here and be sure to subscribe for more from USA Today Sports.